Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz singer and songwriter Chloe Jean. She opened up about her new 2023 album called Fairy Tale Failure. She is a Mill Valley-based award-winning recording artist and songwriter that has shared the stage with many musicians. This album is produced by famed jazz musician Ray Oviedo, and she's ready to make her jazz move. Enjoy this story. Chloe, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
I love the title, Fairy Tale Failure. It's so indie. I dig it.
Yeah.
Right?
True. Based on true events.
True story. What I want to do before we get into Fairy Tale Failure, which might just kind of encapsulate my first question, which is COVID. How did you survive that time period, and how good does it feel to have material coming out now that the world's waking up and we're in a different place?
Oh my God. Well, as a musician, it's incredible to have live audiences again. I will say that. COVID was a struggle. I had so many gigs that just went away completely because of that. And I was devastated. I was actually scheduled to go on a tour with a major act. I was going to be the opener and travel across Northern America. And I was so excited. It's the first time I was ever going to be on tour. And then COVID, and the whole tour was canceled. And I thought, gosh, all my dreams have been shattered. But then I started doing a lot of live streams, and a lot of them were geared towards raising money for different charities. And that was like, oh my God, people really loved that. And I couldn't believe that I had that kind of power to use music for something good. And so that felt really good. And then I started doing little shows for my neighborhood, and everybody was on lockdown. So people would come out to this little park in our neighborhood and bring blankets, picnics, and that turned into a really big thing. So every weekend I would be out there with my keyboard. And eventually other neighbors who played music would join me. So we started a neighborhood band, and we would raise money. We would put out a tip jar, and the money would go to a different charity each week. And so I actually had a really good time. I had some of my best gigs during COVID, ironically enough.
That's interesting. And I think there's really, at the end of the day, there's been a lot of silver linings that went into it. But it has to feel good to have a new album out. What's this album mean for you?
Oh, the album, it just means, well, I've been a singer for a really long time. I've been in so many bands, and I've sung in so many places that range from dive bars to street corners to concert halls. And there have been so many times that I thought I should just hang in a towel, however you say that saying, and stop this whole music business thing, because as an artist, it's hard, man. But this album is like it shows that if you just keep going and you don't stop doing what you love, then you can create some really beautiful stuff. And I feel like that's what this is. It's a triumph of will, you know?
Yeah.
It's taken a long time to get to this point, but it's proof that if you keep going, that, you know, it's worth it.
So what are you hoping the listener gets from this project?
I hope to get some really great music. And also, well, the title, not the title track, but the first track on the album is called Black Sheep. And I wrote that because I always felt like a black sheep growing up. I was always very different from everybody around me, the way I looked, the way I talked, you know. And so I think that I have an appreciation now for people who are different from me, because I'm like, well, shit, they're really not that different. I know what that's like. So I think that for that particular song, it's just for people who have ever struggled with their identity. And it's to say, be proud to be who you are. You know, it's beautiful. So for that song, I feel like it's sort of a feel good, make you feel good song. And then I did a lot of covers on this album, some jazz standards, and those songs, just I wanted to recreate them in a way that was unique and sort of make it my own and do it in my own vocal stylings. And so I just want people to hear those old songs in a fresh way. Um, and especially the Roberta Flack song, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. That song is such a classic, and I have loved it for so many years. And I think we did a really nice job with it. And especially because it's Roberta Flack, I wanted to do it justice. So, and then the rest of the originals, I just want to introduce people to my writing and to know that Chloe Jean is a songwriter, and I've got many more. And I hope that I continue to get to do that, and put those out into the world. I like to write about love a lot, and I hope that it inspires people in some way to find more love and joy in their everyday lives. But one song in particular called Free, and it's about the idea that the more money and more things that you accumulate, maybe it's not the road to happiness that we've all been led to believe. And it talks about a road trip I took when I was a kid with my best friend. We were in our 20s, fresh. We were still in college, and we had just the best time, and we were so wealthy, but we didn't know it, even though we had no money. And so I hope that inspires people just to look around at their lives and realize, like, you really have everything you need when you don't have much.
Yeah, that's well said. How did this jazz journey begin for you? Who were some early influences, and how, like, where were you born and raised, and how did it all begin for you?
Well, I mean, I grew up in Sacramento, not listening to jazz at all, to be honest. I've never been like a jazz enthusiast, but I always grew up singing. I was in musical theater and choir, and my mom always was great about putting me in situations where I could sing and be musical. But then a couple of years ago, I started working with a jazz guitarist here in Marin. I live in Marin County. And he was like, "You got to sing jazz. Your voice is perfect for this." And so we put together a little jazz duo, and he taught me a lot about jazz. And I started listening to all these standards and learning them so I could play in cafes and restaurants and, things like that. And then the duo kind of fell apart. He had some health issues, and it didn't work out. But right around that time, when the jazz duo fell apart, I was introduced to Ray Oviedo, who wound up producing my album. And Ray has been so instrumental in the creation of this album. He didn't really know who I was, but he had heard a few demo tracks, and he thought there was something there. So when he got me in the studio and we recorded the first couple songs on the album, we did everything in like 1 or 2 takes. And he brought in all of his musicians, the people that he works with regularly, like Peter Horvath and David K. Matthews and Dan Feisley and all these superstars in the jazz world who I didn't know who any of them were. I was just relying on Ray to tell me, like, yeah, this guy plays with Hamilton, and this guy plays with Santana, and I was like, holy crap. And so he got them all in the studio with me, and we recorded them live. And within 1 or 2 takes, we were done. That was a wrap. And so really the album was recorded in 2 days. And it was just the best experience. I had never played with musicians at that level, of that caliber, who just nailed it the first time through. And I had never really been in the studio before where I nailed it the first time through. Like, it just felt so easy. It really felt like, gosh, this is where my voice belongs, So I don't know if you believe in like synchronicity and how the universe brings things together at the right time, but in that studio, in those moments, it felt like this is where I belong. Like, this is just easy. It felt like you were in the flow state that a lot of athletes talk about. You just get in the flow state, and you have these great peak moments. So I will always think of the recording of this album as a peak moment for me.
So what was the first live show that you ever saw that either made you think, I want to do that someday, or I'm just blown away?
When I was a kid, I saw Paula Abdul in concert and I thought I couldn't take my eyes off of her. And I thought, I want to do that someday. I want to be on stage. That's me. That's where I need to be. And it's been a journey to get to the place where I'm actually comfortable on stage. But now when I'm on the stage, and it's taken years to get to this point, I feel like it's home and I'm so comfortable. I think I'm more comfortable on stage than I am off stage, which is weird. I feel like I can do no wrong. And I dance as if there's a mirror in front of me and nobody else is there. So I just move around that stage like a goofball. And people love it because I think they see when you're really enjoying something and you're not doing it for adoration. You're not doing it for, the crowd necessarily. You're doing it because it feels good in your body and you just have to move and you just have to sing. So.
Right on. So in this journey of being a professional musician, a singer, what do you like the best about the process? There's a lot of angles that go in, from recording to live shows to marketing, everything in between. What do you like the best about it?
I think performing. I think that's my favorite part, is the performance aspect. There's a lot of business that goes into it, and I'm still learning about that. Ray actually is a really good businessman, Ray Oviedo, and he's been teaching me all of that. And I'm, it's so new for me that it's in that uncomfortable phase. But the performing part is an old hat at this point, and I'm loving it. Lately I've had gigs, singing engagements throughout the week and on the weekends, and that's what I love to do. And I tell everybody, anyone who complains about, oh, we got to move the gear, we got to do this, I tell them, I love this. Okay. I enjoy packing my bag before the gig. I pack my gear bag. I figure out what I need. From the moment I wake up in the morning, I am looking forward to that show that day and everything that goes into it. So show days are my favorite.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see any singer live, where are you going to go? Who are you going to see?
Ooh, that's a good question. God. Maybe it would be Nina Simone. She's one that when she sings, you feel the depth of what she's saying. And I just really respect her message and the way that she delivers it. And she's someone who's no longer able to do that. So I would love to get in a time machine and see her. Yeah.
So why do you love jazz?
Gosh, I think I love the relationship between all the instruments and how they figure out how to make it work as one unit. And yet still each instrument is shining in its own way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how they find the pockets where they can sort of improvise and do what they do, but nobody steps on anybody's toes. It's such an intricate dance, even as a vocalist, you have to make sure that you're singing the right notes, because one wrong note and it really throws everything off and you notice it,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that's what I love about jazz, and the way it makes me feel when I'm singing it. To be honest, it feels really good.
Yeah, I get it. So everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, but you lead the march. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Ooh, you have some good questions.
Thank you.
What do I think of me? I think that I am a strong warrior, like someone who is learning who she is and learning to be firm in that. I think it's been a journey, as a kid, I just wanted to fit in. There's that black sheep syndrome where I just wanted to be like everybody else. And I hated that I was different. And now as I'm a woman, I'm learning that, God, I have to celebrate that. Like, that's what makes me special. It's what makes everybody special. And so learning to speak my mind and say my truth, regardless of what the rest of the group is saying, is really my wheelhouse right now. And that's where I am learning to be comfortable. And the same goes with my music. Like, I think that for a long time, I was trying to make music and things that I thought people would like, other people would like. Now I'm making music that I like and music that makes me feel good. And whether somebody else likes that or not is really none of my business. And so I see that as growth, personal growth, and being able to be my own person, be secure in that, and come from that place instead of trying to please everybody else, if that makes sense. So I see myself as a strong, someone who is continuing to grow in that arena, and being strong, and being a warrior, really, a warrior for myself, an advocate for myself, and someone who's authentic to me.
Excellent. Chloe Jean, if anyone wants to pick up Fairy Tale Failure, learn about live shows, anything about your world and life, where can they go?
Well, they can go to my website, chloejean.net. And the songs, the album will be available on all streaming platforms June 2nd. And they'll be able to hear it on jazz radio as of now.
Excellent. Chloe, thank you for opening up. Thanks for your time. Best of luck with the album and everything as we move forward.
Oh, gosh. Thank you.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in Sacramento, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Chloe for her time, energy, and cool. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Yeah, I'm a bad guy.
Neon Jazz.